Sorry about that delay. So I'm back, and I'm going to. Oh, and if you're just joining us, this is Artslandia Happy Hour. I'm pianist and composer Stephen Lewis. I'm going to pick up again with that Brahms Intermezzo in A major. So here we go. All right, so that was Two Intermezzi by Johannes Brahms. Um, I wanted to take this moment to thank Artslandia. Artslandia has given many of us musicians and artists, performers, a place to call home every weekday at 5 p.m. And if you want to support their efforts, you should please consider becoming a sustaining subscriber to these happy hours. There should be a link on the Artslandia page and on the Facebook page where you can find out more about that. It's a wonderful program, and I'm really happy to be a part of it. And in case you're just joining us, my name is Stephen Lewis. I'm a pianist and a composer. So, check in with comments. So, Jackie Charan asks if I play any other instruments. Well, the easy answers are the organ and the harpsichord and the keyboard. Those all are relatively easy to pick up from the piano. I used to play the clarinet a long time ago when I was in middle school. There was a little bit of tension. Would I be a pianist? Would I be a clarinetist? But in the end, one was obviously for me. And I also used to sing a lot. And I haven't sung that much for many years, but for a big part of my life, singing was really important. And somebody asked me about my piano. This is a Petroff grand piano, and it's a little bit under 6 feet long. It's actually on semi-permanent loan to me from some good friends of ours who live in Hillsborough and run a CSA. And when they learned that my wife and I were moving to Portland, they asked if we wanted to hold on to their grand piano for them because they had been putting it in storage for that time. Since we were without a piano, it was an amazing opportunity. One of many happy synchronicities that we've found since moving to Portland. All right, so next up, I'm going to be playing a prelude by Debussy called The Sunken Cathedral. And this was the first piece that I settled on for this program. Like many of Debussy's piano works, the title refers to a pre-existing work of art or something else in nature. In this case, the Sunken Cathedral is reference to the city of Ys, spelled Y-S. It's a legend in the Brittany region of France, although similar myths can be found other places in the world. And the idea of the city of Ys is that it's a city that is under the ocean for all but one day of the year. And then for one day in the year, the island city rises above the ocean. All the inhabitants get to go about their day. They sing a big song of praise about being free again. And then the island sinks back down under the ocean, and they remain frozen until the island rises again. I chose this piece because it felt like with the COVID-19 social distancing that it was like we were in the city and we had sunk under the water waiting for our time to rise up above the surface again. But there's also something I think resonant about the idea of all people coming together and singing, making their voices heard. So here is Debussy's Sunken Cathedral. All right, so that was Debussy's Prelude from his first book of preludes called The Sunken Cathedral. Check in with comments. So, unfortunately, it looks like my comments are not loading right now. So, I think I'm just going to keep going, and if they come back later, then I'll answer some more comments. But please do leave them. I should be able to see them later on. So next up is a set of pieces that probably makes me among the happiest of all the happy hour pieces. And they are 6 little pieces by Arnold Schoenberg. Arnold Schoenberg, that's a name that usually causes us to quake in our boots with a little bit of terror. But for me, I really feel very passionately about performing his music, and I feel like his music has, to some extent, been neglected and has a lot of great things to teach us in how it works and what it deals with. The big thing that people talk about when they talk about Schoenberg's music is this idea of dissonance. And dissonance is often thought of as bad sounds, whereas consonance is good sounds. When you study music and you take music theory classes, you learn that dissonance is rather unstable sounds and consonance is stable sounds, but they always exist in relationship to each other, and they're a way that we understand music rather than something that's in the music itself. We expect dissonance to resolve to consonance, and so we want it to. One of the things that Schoenberg realized is, what if he could, as he put it, emancipate the dissonance? What if the dissonance could be on its own? It didn't have to resolve to a consonance. And this is a very interesting idea. If we look at sound all by itself, sound is sound. And when we interpret sound in various ways, we try and put sound in boxes and try and make things work out in ways we're used to. Dissonance can be seen as a bad thing. And I feel like right now, with the demonstrations going on, with the extrajudicial killing of George Floyd, we're seeing how there's a dissonance or a perceived dissonance in our society, and how if we were better able to see all people as full individuals and to accept their stories and accept their pain, that we wouldn't feel such intense need for things to quote unquote resolve. We could feel the dissonance that exists between people, and we could better show each other compassion. Schoenberg, he was a refugee. Schoenberg was a Jewish composer. He was born in Austria, but he moved to Berlin, and in the 1930s, he was forced to flee from the Third Reich, and he moved to the United States as a refugee. Schoenberg always felt like he was a dissonance in his own world. He even converted to Christianity to try and pass. But later in his life, he re-embraced Judaism as he embraced dissonance as something to be proud of and something to not back down from. So here are Schoenberg's 6 little piano pieces. Oh, and by the way, the last of these 6, which has a lot of sounds like bells, Schoenberg wrote as a memorial piece for Gustav Mahler. Mahler was one of Schoenberg's biggest supporters and one of his mentors, and Mahler had recently passed away, and when Schoenberg came to writing this piece. So the last of these 6 pieces is a memorial to Mahler. All right, so that was Arnold Schoenberg's Six Little Piano Pieces. If you're just joining us, my name is Stephen Lewis. I'm a concert pianist and composer and music teacher living in Portland, Oregon. And this is my Artslandia Happy Hour live broadcast. So next up, we have another piece by Debussy. This is from his Etudes, his last major set of solo piano pieces. And in the Etudes, he largely abandoned the descriptive names that his earlier piano pieces had and favored dry names. This one, for instance, is the Etude for composite arpeggios. What he was doing was basically describing the technical challenge that he was writing for in these pieces. And yet, the Etudes have this otherworldly, dreamlike feeling to them, which was something that Debussy was always striving for in his music from his youngest days. And this one in particular feels like a dream of remembrances of things past in the future. The very beginning of it always strikes me as both sounding incredibly modern, like you could hear it in a modern film soundtrack, but also sounding a lot like Chopin. I think Debussy captures this balance between the past, present, and future in this etude. All right, that was Debussy's Etude for Composite Arpeggios. And my name is Stephen Lewis. I'm a concert pianist and composer. This is an Artslandia happy hour live broadcast. And next up, I'm going to play a set of 6 dances in Bulgarian rhythm by Bayla Bartok. Now, these 6 dances are the final 6 pieces in a major work by Bartok called the Mikrokosmos. Mikrokosmos is basically a piano primer series, like a piano lesson series. Bartok was always interested in writing piano pieces for children, and this is his final set. He wrote it to help teach his son how to play the piano. And there's 153 pieces. They start at the very easiest of technique and progress all the way to very, very difficult music, culminating in these 6 dances. Now, what does a dance in Bulgarian rhythm mean? Well, Bulgarian rhythm for Bartok means a meter where there are uneven beats in the bar. So this is where there's a mix of subdivisions of 2s and 3s. So for instance, the first of the dances, Bartok notates the time signature as 4 plus 2 plus 3 over 8. So you have a beat pattern that's like da 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 da. And the second song, our second dance, is in 7/8 or 2 plus 2 plus 3, which is da 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 da. So this is one of the rhythmic devices Bartok is pretty famous for. And these are some of the pieces that we get that impression from. So here are 6 dances in Bulgarian rhythm. All right, everybody. So I thought right before I finish up, I would just take a quick glance at everybody's comments and see if there are a couple questions that I can answer quickly. Since I had some technical difficulties earlier, I wasn't able to see these earlier. Um, so one question from Nicole Lane is, who is my favorite composer? And she's guessing it's Debussy. And, well, that's a tough question to answer. Debussy certainly would be near the top of my list. I think that, it's a little bit like whoever I'm really excited about at the time is my favorite composer. If you'd asked me 12 years ago, Debussy probably wouldn't even been near the top of my list at all, but today he is. And those things changed over time. But other favorite composers of mine would be Beethoven, even though I didn't play any Beethoven today. I'm actually working on preparing his Diabelli variations to perform later this year. Originally I was going to play that as a live performance, but we'll see. If it were still social distancing, it might be coming streaming later on. And I just want to thank everybody for all the compliments too. A lot of people seem to really like my program a lot. And so before I sign off, I'd like to give a plug for the next happy hour. So the next happy hour is going to be Mondays with the Maestro with Oregon Symphony's music director, Carlos Kalmar. I've actually performed keyboardist with the Oregon Symphony a few times. And the last time we were going to perform was a big piece called the Sinfonia by Luciano Berio back in March. And that was, we had one rehearsal on March 11th, and then everything was canceled. But at that one rehearsal, this is the first and only time I've spoken with Maestro Kalmar. I was there early practicing my part, getting ready to rehearse, and then I realized he was standing right next to me. And he, once I knew he was there, he said, "Difficult part, right?" And I was like, yeah, it is a difficult part. And he's like, "Yeah, difficult part." And then he just left. So, I wasn't quite sure to make an interaction, but the rehearsal went well. And it's too bad we couldn't perform that concert. But I'm sure that the Monday happy hour with Carlos Kalmar is going to be great. And so I encourage you all to go to that. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me. This has been a real pleasure. And I hope to see you all again digitally or preferably in person again soon. All right. This is me signing off.